On today's show, just like many times before, the Dallas Mavericks had a chance in a game they probably shouldn't have been in. What did Kyrie and PJ do to give the Mavericks that chance, and how did they blow it on today's Locked On Mavs?
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
You are Locked On Mavs.
Great, Rusty.
Your daily Dallas Mavericks podcast.
No one's dying.
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network.
No one is
Your
dying.
team every day.
Still can't eat milk.
And welcome. You're locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for being in every day or making Locked On Mavs your first listen today, maybe your second listen today. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show. We have a free daily newsletter that covers the Dallas Mavericks and the NBA sent straight to your inbox every day. Today's episode is sponsored by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. And joining me, as always, on a postgame, the postgame prodigy for the Great Slightly Biased YouTube channel, sitting in the darkness, which is what I feel inside. What you got for me, Slightly Biased?
I've said this before, but I push back against the nobody's dying. We're all technically dying.
Jason Kidd in the intro does say no one's dying, which is the funniest quote.
Some just at a quicker pace than others.
That's true. It feels like the Dallas Mavericks season is dying, but we'll get into that a little bit later. We'll talk about the Lively injury. We'll talk about some of that. We'll get into the Mavericks against the Timberwolves, though. Talking about it was a one-point game that wasn't really a one-point game. We'll get into that. Kyrie ruined a few gamblers' nights. But let's start here. Let's start here with this game. This Dallas Mavericks team right now, as currently constructed and as currently available, I guess I'll just say that, not constructed, but available. Tonight in this game, you're missing Luka Doncic, Dereck Lively, Klay Thompson, Najee Marshall out with illness again. Jaden Hardy is out. Dwight Powell is out. Dante Exum's still out. And so you basically have half your roster available. And the two-way guys are getting big minutes. You had a bunch of role players playing huge minutes that don't normally. And that's what happens in games like this. You have guys that give and you have guys that take. And some guys will give you some big plays. Spencer Dinwiddie can give you big plays, and he'll take away on defense in some other areas. That's why they're not these definite role players on championship teams necessarily. And in a game like this, it's just kind of amazing that the Mavericks were in this game, honestly, with everything that they were going through, everything that all the injury stuff with Lively that came out today, all the injuries that the Mavericks had today, the fact that it was a one-shot game at the end. Kyrie had a shot, not the one that he hit at the end, but the one before that where he missed a pull-up three with like 3 seconds left, that he had that three. It was kind of amazing to me. Like, I'll give the Mavs a little credit for just for that.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking about this today, but their margin for error is so slim with all of their absences. And the Timberwolves have had a season from hell. This team is not impressive in the slightest to me. I mean, they're missing Dante DiVincenzo as well, but which they're much more healthier than the Mavs are. But still, they're a better basketball team than this current iteration of the Dallas Mavericks team by a lot.
I was going to say, imagine having a season from hell where all you guys are healthy. Oh, wait, that was the Mavs 2 years ago.
Yeah, it's true. That was the Mavs 2 years ago. For the most part. But yeah, your margin for error is so slim. And like you said, you have guys that are getting huge rotational minutes that are give and take players that are role guys and just naturally role guys. And they can be great role guys. They can be elite role players. But the moment you take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 different pieces, those guys get slotted up so far and their roles become so much bigger that their off nights, which, they're role guys. They're going to have off nights. Quentin Grimes is going to be prone to stretches where he doesn't play well. And those really kill you because your margin for error is so slim. So you miss a couple of threes. You can miss a couple wide open threes. You have a couple of turnovers, fall asleep defensively once or twice. It's really difficult for you to make up and climb your way out of those holes you dig yourself. So that's kind of what tonight was about, in my opinion.
If you just look at this box score, you'd kind of be amazed the Mavericks were in this game too, because you look at Timberwolves 30 of 34 from three. They hit 30 free throws from the free throw line. They hit 30 free throws in this game. Mavs 16 of 19 from the free throw line. The Timberwolves 11 of 29 from three. That's 38%. The Mavericks 8 of 29 from three, so 28%. Little mini Magnets game, but the Mavs shot terribly from three. Didn't really take a ton of free throws. The Timberwolves did both those things, and it was still a one possession game by the end. Like that's a hard fought game, and we'll start with the credit right here to Kyrie Irving, 36 points, 9 assists, and didn't look like to me he was 100% in this game. And I don't know when he will be. He had that back injury. We'll see, but He was doing some like vintage Kyrie Irving-esque moves and plays and scores at the basket and around, and he was doing a lot of Kyrie things. What did he finish with? I think 16 points in the fourth quarter. I mean, that's massive, and he kind of gave him everything that you would expect from the number one on a team that didn't have Luka Doncic.
Yeah, I mean, 28 points in the second half of this game. Like, he really stepped up. He hit big shots. He missed a three there at the three before he hit that three to make it a 1 point game. That lost a lot of people some money. But that three, you know, it's just, I feel like I have to say this every time. When you're up three, you're not going to get a clean look from three. You're just not. You're down three. You're not going to get a clean look from three. It's not going to happen. Defenses will simply not allow it. You will get fouled. You know, teams are going to sell out to stop the three. So was it a tough shot? Yes, it was a very tough shot. But that's just kind of the shot that you get. But yeah, man, I thought Kyrie was great tonight.
They didn't set a screen on that, right? I'm not misremembering it.
No, he just dribbled the ball up, and
it was
one
just
quick up fake. Ant stayed down, and because you run the risk, you don't have a timeout. You dribble the ball up the court. Like I think they should take it out of the game because I think it sucks a lot of the life out of it. But you should foul. Like every analytic Timberwolves out there says you should foul 100 times out of 100 when that happens.
Yeah, it felt like Kyrie should have taken the three on the first jump stop. Like when he first stopped, I feel like he should have pulled up and he kind of hesitated and then leaned to the right and tried to take that three. But who am I to tell Kyrie Irving how to take a jump shot? But I'm with you. I think that was almost as good of a shot you could have taken. I wish there would have been something like Kyrie had a couple plays where Maxey would come up and set a screen or Gafford or somebody and just get a little bit of air or a little more. But that shot versus Ant is almost as good as you could have hoped on that one. But man, I thought Kyrie was just massive in this game.
I just think the moment you run an action, you're getting fouled. Like I just think that's
interesting.
That's
yeah, you involve too many players. Kyrie just caught him off guard.
Yeah.
Yeah, you really don't have much time. And like you said, they didn't have a timeout either. So it's not like they could have stopped and drawn something up and done something like that, which is kind of where the Mavericks thrive anyway. Don't draw anything up. Just go ahead and just run something and go.
It was similar to that Clay shot against the Hornets where it's like in that moment, I don't know how much of a better look you could realistically hope to get.
Yeah, I'm way more frustrated about that Hornets game than this one.
That's what one of my main takeaways tonight was this showcases you cannot drop those games. You just can't. Because these ones are going to be tough.
For you as a Mavs fan, is there any solace that they're fighting in all these games? Like they're not getting blown out. They're still in these games.
There's definitely solace for that. They're playing hard. There's really only been a couple of instances here and there over this past couple of weeks where I've been like, man, I don't know about the effort tonight. And did they play hard? The fake comebacks we joke about I keep saying it's better than losing by 30. Like it just is. You'd rather see them fighting. You'd rather see them dribble the ball down the court. We call them fake comebacks. Like I consider fake comebacks to be a lot of times like what the Cowboys do. It's like, well, if they get an onside kick here, then a 2-point conversion versus like they're shooting a three to potentially tie the game. Yeah, that's a much different scenario.
You excited about Brian Schottenheimer?
I'm gonna be real. I haven't followed the Cowboys at all recently. I didn't even know he was the offensive coordinator.
I was gonna say I don't think he was. A lot of
no, he was the offensive coordinator. I think.
I don't know. I don't care either. Yeah. But the Timberwolves had their biggest lead. Like one of the things that I will take solace in is the Timberwolves had their biggest lead, 12, in the fourth quarter, and I literally got a text on the Locked On Mavs text line from one of the insiders that said, "Man, it's a 12-point game, and I just really don't see how the Mavericks will come back at all." And just that was where morale was, at least for that person, for that listener. And then they come back and they make it a 1-point game. And they fought back and then did it again, where the Timberwolves made it. It was a 9-point game. Fought back to make it a 1-point game again. Like they did keep fighting back. They just didn't have that one extra play, that one extra stop that could have taken them over the line. And man, but I mean, PJ had a putback with a minute left. You had the Gafford got fouled and made free throws with 2 minutes left. That was massive after Kyrie missed that three. A couple of big, huge offensive rebounds right there. You had a Kyrie three after a PJ offensive rebound where he missed a layup. That made it a 1-point game at the end there. Then the one that they reviewed and it stood as a three. Like there's just some big, massive plays where the Mavericks fought. And I'm taking that. Like I'm taking that some solace for the Mavericks that they are fighting back in these games and they're getting close. Like as a Timberwolves team that, like you said, was healthy besides Dante DiVincenzo.
Who has been good for them, to be fair. But yeah, and then you look at it, it's just when it rains, it really pours in the league, it feels like. And you look at some of the plays down the stretch of this game, that foul call on Anthony Edwards Was that a foul? I don't know. That feels really weak in that moment. Maybe you could argue PJ Washington jumped into his space. I don't know. That felt like a weak call. The challenge was Mike Conley grabbing PJ Washington and dragging him down a little bit. Maybe they could have called that. That last play, the inbounds the Timberwolves had, where the ball's loose and Mike Conley taps it to I think Jaden McDaniels and Maxey and Kyrie dive for the ball. I mean, those are all sort of 50-50 type of plays where if just one of those goes in your favor, it could be a completely different game. And then you go back to that Pelicans game, the non-goaltend call. Like when it rains, it pours. And I think that's kind of the stretch the Mavs are on right now.
I had somebody in my mentions, I'm trying to find when exactly it was, send me 2 screenshots of Anthony Edwards stepping completely over the line, taking a free throw, like 2 free throws, and calling them violations. I'm like, first of all, the NBA is never going to call those.
Yeah, they're not going to call that.
But there's, like you said, there's moments like that where it just could have gone either way. One of those gets called or something, and all of a sudden it could be a completely different game. A shot goes in, something. The challenge the Mavs had at the end. I thought the Mavs were going to go 3 for 3 against the Timberwolves this year on challenging an out of bounds play that they were going to get a foul on. That was the Kyrie Jaden McDaniels play in the playoffs. They almost got it with that Maxey out of bounds play at the end, but they didn't get that one either. I mean, there's just a lot of opportunities. Oh, the Jaden McDaniels wide open alley oop with 3:38 left. Oh, that was brutal. Where I went back. The play before, Kyrie was on Jaden McDaniels, but to me, it looked like Dinwiddie wasn't guarding anybody on that play. So I don't really know who to blame on that one. But like you said, just plays like that. Another thing I'm taking away from this game is PJ Washington. We got to talk about how great PJ Washington was in this game and how great he's been this season. What does that mean for him going forward? We'll talk about that and more coming up.
You don't believe you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Talkspace. Therapy is a game changer. It can help manage stress, improve sleep, communicate more effectively. I have been going to therapy. I know Isaac is a big proponent of therapy as well. Talking to somebody, working through things in your life. Everybody has something that you feel anxious about that just sits in the pit of your stomach as something, man, I just have this thing and I don't want to talk to family about it. I don't want to talk to friends about it, or I have talked about it with those people and it doesn't seem to help. You may need another outlet. You may need somebody else. Finding the right therapist and fitting sessions into a busy schedule can be a challenge. That's where Talkspace comes in. Using Talkspace, sign up is simple. You can match with a licensed therapist who fits your needs, usually within 48 hours. That's really quick, too. If you need help now and you need somebody to talk to now, I know when I've been in super dark times, I need somebody to talk to quick, right? I don't want to just sit in this feeling for so long. Convenient. You can have sessions from the comfort of your home, even message your therapist between appointments, which is huge, too. As a listener of this podcast, you get $80 off your first month with Talkspace when you go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA. That's promo code SPACE80, space 80, the number 80. To match with a licensed therapist today, go to Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA. Use the promo code SPACE80, the number 80, to get $80 off your first month and show your support for the show. That's Talkspace.com/LockedOnNBA, promo code TalkSpace.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
Thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs, being part of the show, part of the Raccoon Squad, what we call our listeners. Appreciate each and every one of you for checking out the show and listening. The Mavs may be not playing, or at least a lot of them, but we're still going to be going every game. We're not going to be out.
That's
for a
right,
game.
baby.
I mean, one of us might be, but not the whole show. Between me, you, and Isaac, some of us are going to want to be here. So check out the show.
Right.
Check the QR code, different ways to follow and like the show. Check out Slightly Biased, great YouTube channel, all kinds of great stuff over there as well. I loved your your words you shared after the game. Just
Set it in a little bit. Just had to
honestly,
let it out.
honestly, the most coherent and the most eloquently said message after a game. So check out Slightly's post.
The people needed to hear it.
They did. I heard all of it. Let's get into PJ Washington because 30 points in this one, 8 boards, 2 assists, and he only hit 1 3, which we talked about PJ Washington a lot in the offseason as somebody that is going to get a ton of open shots because of the way the lineup was set up. It's not that way anymore. No Luka, no Lively, no Clay. Like that lineup completely changes. So he's not going to get as many open shots. But we've seen him become more of an aggressor, a guy that goes and gets his own buckets, which is not something I even considered him to be when they traded for him, or something I thought that he could project to even be. But he's become that. He went at Julius Randle a bunch in this game. He went and got his own shot. And honestly, PJ stepping up, becoming the player that he's become this season, is something I'm going to take away whether the Mavericks make the playoffs at the end of the year or not.
Yeah, I mean, 30 points, had 10 points in the fourth quarter when the Mavs really needed buckets. Like you said, I mean, only 1 3 in this game. I mean, that was need to see some threes going. His 3 balls kind of abandoned him a little bit. I think he's 29% from 3 this month. So would like to see that number tick up a little bit. But yeah, going and getting his own bucket. We know the post up stuff. It's just finding the consistency really for him. It's not going to be 30 points every single night, of course, but it's can we, if possible, weed out the I don't think he had a great game against the Hornets necessarily. Can we weed out those games, the 13.5 of 15, and find just a more consistent, a more consistent player? Because if so, then boom, that's your number 3, number 4 guy moving forward, and you feel really good about it.
Number 3 guy?
No, more number 4. Okay. I have a theory that the Mavs are going to swing big in the summer. I do. I think.
Wow.
I think everything points towards it.
Isaac literally talked about that yesterday, if the Mavs should do that or not. So
I think they're going to.
Go listen to that show. Do you have anybody in mind?
Haven't thought about it much yet, but you never know. You never know who's going to be available in the NBA.
That's true. Did we think Jimmy Butler was going to be available right now? And there's some talk, but he's super available. Like, I didn't think he was going to be super available.
It's like, fine, we'll take your second round picks. Take them.
We joked on we have a Locked On NBA like a meeting of as many hosts, and we were joking the Thunder have 20 second round picks. Like, how many second round picks would it take to get Jimmy Butler?
Yeah, depending on who the players are, I don't know.
Or Cam Johnson. That was the other one. It's like, if the Thunder want Cam Johnson, how many second round picks?
That's a good question right there.
How many would it take? But PJ just great, and like has just come up big in so many ways. Steps up to guys, doesn't back down. There were a couple plays he scored over Gobert.
Yeah,
where he just hit a shot right over, hit a floater right over him, drove at him. Just huge stuff from PJ Washington. Stuff that I don't think a lot of Mavericks fans expected from him at the beginning of the season, and he's become such a fan favorite, especially like in the playoffs for sure last year, but definitely this season.
Yeah, and the playoffs were just the. It shows you everything you want to see in a guy like that. Steps up to the moment, makes big plays, isn't afraid, is going to talk, is going to, be there to back up his team and shove guys around. Like, that's the type of player you want on your team. And especially on a team like this, he really fits in. And it is good. There's always going to be positives you can take away from a season like this.
I'm going to take another positive from this game. Daniel Gafford.
Yeah.
Daniel Gafford, on Christmas when the Mavs played the Timberwolves last, he only played 13 minutes. He played off the bench, didn't score, didn't get a rebound. Lively played 30 minutes in that game. That was the one where Luka got hurt. If you remember, that's when all this terribleness started. But Gafford tonight, 14 points, 12 boards, 2 offensive rebounds, 2 assists, 3 blocks. Like, I'll take that he played much better against a team where I don't know that we'd say this is a Gafford team necessarily. I don't remember him playing super well in the playoffs necessarily. And you think playing against a big center or playing against a switchy center like Naz Reid, like those are 2 centers he doesn't usually do well against, and tonight he did.
Yeah, I thought this continues a really good stretch of play from Daniel Gafford. And I found it interesting was I thought he played so well that he almost forced the Timberwolves into making adjustments into just going really small. The Timberwolves were Julius Randle at the 5 basically in this game, and I thought a lot of that was in an effort to space the floor and put a guy like Daniel Gafford, who we know can struggle a little bit in space, in that predicament. And it forced the Mavs to make a decision. The Mavs themselves went small. Well, I guess I can't even really say the Mavs went small. Like, that's just currently their.
They only have 2 available guys over 6'10", so
their backup center option right now. But he was great. 14 points, 12 boards. He's really. We came on here and we were like, Gafford needs to play better. Yeah, like he's gonna have to play better, especially when it looked like Lively at the time. We thought Lively was gonna be out of a few games, but it was just an opportunity for Gafford to find his confidence again and get going, because he hadn't looked like the Gafford we got used to last year.
No,
there was an energy difference. Of course, some of that's not playing next to Luka, but he's been great the last few games. It really is very encouraging.
Yeah, we'll take that. You mentioned Gobert. He subbed out with 7 minutes left in the game and subbed back in with a minute 33. I thought that was a fascinating stretch for them to not play with him.
Well, Mavs were going small too for most of that stretch, and that was their answer. I found it interesting was that it wasn't Naz Reid out there either. Like, they were going Julius Randle small ball 5.
They got to run more sets with him, and they've got to figure the Julius Randle piece out, because it feels like teams attack Julius Randle. The Mavs were attacking him over and over.
Yeah, it's just not. Like I said at the top of the show, I just don't. I haven't left any meeting with the Timberwolves this year as a Mavericks fan being like, that team is scary. There's a vibe about them that's really off.
No, and they need that. They didn't really get it in this one, I guess. They got more of a Jaden McDaniels finished with 27 points in this game.
He was great. Jaden McDaniels was awesome tonight.
they usually need an Anthony Edwards flurry at some point late in the game to get them through to a win. And they didn't really get it in this one, but they got 18 points from Mike Conley, gross, 27 from McDaniels, and then they got 12 points from Nasri off the bench, hit a couple of threes in that stretch in the fourth that gave them that lead. But yeah, the Timberwolves, they have not been very good this season at all, and they've been healthy, which is tough. Yeah, on Daniel Gafford, he's not getting traded now. I mean, with the Lively injury, right? I mean, we're done with that.
I never put too much stock into it because I felt the only way they would have traded him is if there was a huge upgrade, which just looking around the league, I don't see who that person is.
Hard to find.
Especially on top of that, and then a team that's also 26-year-old Daniel Gafford, like we're cool with that being the centerpiece in a return for this, huge upgrade to your roster. So I never really thought that he was an option to get traded.
No, yes, as long as we're talking about Daniel Gafford, I just don't think that. Yeah, I was completely with you. I did a show just on that, saying, hey, I think it's only Herb Jones or another defender on his level, which there's not many. I think I named like 12 in the NBA. There's really only that could, and most of them aren't available because they're just great players on good teams. And so unless you can get somebody like that, I didn't think he was going to be available, and so I didn't think the Mavs were going to trade him anyway. And so, all right, now Gafford's got to play better, and you've got to figure you can't just get bailed out by trading again. You've got to be better in the spot, and you've got to play up to your value, and Gafford has completely done that in the last couple of games. I mean, 14 and 12 with 3 blocks and a couple of assists. How much more can you ask out of your center making, 13, 14 million?
No, that's great production right there out of your center position. That's exactly, you're 100% cool with that.
Yeah. Coming up, let's get into the things that went wrong in this game. We'll talk about the future with Lively as well, or at least the near future with this season. We'll talk about all that and more coming up.
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Today's episode of Locked On Mavs brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA to get $20 off your first purchase. There's all kinds of stuff all the time on Game Time. I just like to look sometimes and just see what is available in my area. I live in the DFW area. That's why I'm here. And there's all kinds of events all the time. You've got Stars games. There's one on Friday. Mavs Celtics starting at $60. I think that might go down. So go check. AC/DC playing at AT&T Stadium in April. Go check out that. Got all kinds of other fun stuff coming up. You've got Cat Williams. I'm sure Cat Williams can be fun. Go check out. There's all kinds of things. You never know what you're going to see on Game Time. Use the view from your seat to see exactly where your seat's going to be. Use the all-in pricing, toggle that feature on, see exactly what you're going to pay at checkout. Gotta love that, so you're not surprised by anything. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, use that code LOCKEDONNBA, LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? It's game.
Shut it down! Let's go home!
All right, Slightly. If you're gonna give blame for a game like this, where do you start? Yeah. The offense doesn't run sometimes,
I was kind of kidding.
Oh, you were?
I know everyone wants to hear that. I don't have much blame to give.
I had another person text the Locked On Mavs Insiders subtext line and say, Jason Kidd's getting a pass for this season now, right? I'm like, well, he wasn't going anywhere. So that wasn't really a conversation anyway. But yeah, he's going to get a pass. And in a game like this, he's missing half his rotation players. So I don't know. It is hard, but the fact that their offense sometimes is just Spencer Dinwiddie pounding the rock for 15 seconds drives me nuts.
I agree, but I will say I thought tonight was much better in that regard. The Hornets game I thought was inexcusably bad, but tonight it felt like Kyrie had the ball in his hands most of the time down the stretch, and they were just not messing around, get him the ball as quickly as possible, and let's get to work. But yeah, and Spence made some plays down the stretch, but there was also some frustrating Spence moments. I found myself at times in this game just thinking, man, I just think I'm done with the Spence experience. I'm just not really here for you anymore. But then you think about it more, and it's like, I mean, what are the other options here?
Well, even with Hardy down, Exum down, right? Those are the other options. I mean, obviously with Luka, but
Najee didn't play tonight.
No.
It just you run down. Clay didn't play tonight. You run out of guard.
Here's the one. Where's JC and Gortman? Where's Jazz? Bring him out.
So here's a theory I have.
Blue like Jazz.
Your solutions to anything are, what about the 2-way guys? You don't have a solution. You don't have a solution.
People are asking that to bring Jamarian Sharp back to back up the guys. I mean, we'll talk about that in a minute here, but yeah, with the Dinwiddie experience, I saw a lot of sentiment about that too. Just I'm done with the Dinwiddie experience. I'm done with Dinwiddie playing 30 minutes.
Yeah.
I did not want Dinwiddie to play 30 minutes, except for like maybe 1 out of every 7, like 6 or 7 games. You know, when Luka and Kyrie were both out, or something like that.
The ideal world is you're cruising and you have a wiggle room to rest guys, and hey, we're letting Kyrie sit tonight. Spence, you got 30 minutes in you.
They just have only hit the cruising point like one time this season.
Yeah, yeah.
But that's the thing. He's a minimum player. He came in. He's expected to be in a role. I know the Mavs kind of built him, and I know I was part of this and hyped him up as, he could be a spot starter. But spot starter means you start like 1 every 5-6 games, right? Not you start every night. You start or play starters minutes every night, which is what he's doing right now with this stretch with Luka, and then Kyrie was out too. And so, yeah, a player like that's going to wear on you after a while. It's a reason why he was supposed to be like, the third string point guard.
Yeah. Again, it's just the situation here for the Mavs is so dire that it's so hard to win in the NBA when you're missing this many guys. It is. It's very difficult. It's just very difficult.
Omax, though, 25 minutes, 4 points, 4 rebounds, 2 assists. He's showing me something. Not a lot.
He had a couple defensive breakdowns where you could just tell the moment it happened, timeout, he's at the game. He's still just really, I think he's just really struggling to be on game speed is the problem here.
He turned away a couple open shots too, which is those are
Edwards did as well. Those guys cannot be not shooting open threes.
Yeah,
I do not care if they miss them. That needs to be the sentiment. Airball this 3 for all we care. You have to shoot it.
You got to get in the rhythm of game speed shooting shots.
Yeah.
On the Lively injury, so the report that came out is he's going to be out 2 to 3 months with a foot fracture. That's what I talked about in the bonus episode. Then the Mavericks PR came out with a report that says it's an ankle fracture. Feel like an ankle fracture is worse than a foot injury? Not a doctor, not even on Twitter. So I won't speculate too much, but feels like that's a little bit better.
Twitter doctors.
Deep down. But then the Mavericks said that he's going to be reevaluated in 4 weeks, which is not 2 to 3 months, but he could also be back in 2 to 3 months. Anyway, the Mavericks have not been super clear with a lot of their injuries this season, which has frustrated me. But with Lively out, I mean, did you go to the doom and gloom place like the season is over when you heard that? Or were you like me where you're like, hey, this is not the end of it, but it really does make it very hard for the end of the season?
I went pretty doom and gloom just because you don't have someone to make up for Lively on the roster. And you look at the timetable that Shams reported, 2 to 3 months. I mean, that's
playoffs.
That's like best
April.
case scenario. He comes back for like the last 5 games of the regular season. And at that point in time, who knows where you're going to have to be at? Because let's guys, I think we need to remember this. Last year, they had to play a 60-win pace. All-Star break onwards, the record was similar to this, and they were the 5 seed. 2 years before that, they had to play a 60-win pace. All-Star break onwards, and they were the 4 seed. Like, that's just the pace you have to play at from this point forward just to be top 5 in the West. And now your margin for error is going to be so slim over that stretch. You can't slip up really at all, and you're going to be without your 3rd best player. And I really would make an argument your 2nd most important player on the entire roster. And that's just tough. That's really tough.
In the short term, we mentioned that you've got Gafford, you got Maxey. Dwight's out, too, with an injury that we don't know the timeline for, which I didn't expect at a certain point in the season. We'd be wondering what Dwight's timeline is for any kind of injury, right? Like, I didn't think we'd be doing that. But where do you go? I mean, they got to bring in another center, to me. I don't think they can do what they did tonight, all these games. Maxey misses too many games and beat a lot on Gafford.
Well, it really depends on what their outlook for the season moving forward is now. Because is this going to be sort of a, hey, man, we're dealing with so many injuries. We just have to lick our wounds a little bit, and hopefully, maybe we stay afloat and make the play-in tournament, and who knows? Or if not, then come back next year. Or if they're going to be like, you know what, we can't waste the season. We're going out to get a center now. We absolutely have to do that, which would scare me in a lot of ways, just because I don't know who that guy is. And I had people ask me like, Nick Claxton. It's like you want to give up picks for Nick Claxton, and then what?
Yeah, right. And then next year you have 3 centers.
Yeah, what's the plan moving forward there? And you're paying one of them. You're paying Nick Claxton $25 million.
Yeah,
and he has not performed at that level whatsoever this season.
No.
But he be coming off the bench. I mean, that just opens up a huge can of worms. That becomes weird. And then it's just like, Robert Williams, do you make that phone call?
And so many teams want centers. Look what the Suns just did to go get Nick Richards. Nick Richards is like, I don't know. I don't think he's a great center, but
I don't really either.
Okay, back up. You want to go get Nurkic? He's available.
No. If Nurkic gets bought out or something, then okay, maybe.
Do you want?
Maybe we can...
If I really want Mavs fans to stop complaining about Maxey. You know what would stop them complaining about Maxey? If they traded Maxey for Nurkic.
Yes, yes. That would be a whole nother level of complaining.
Complaining about something different, like a completely different thing.
Okay, what did you think about? God, we always do this. Maxey closes the game. Everyone's mad about Maxey. They literally went on the run.
He played 15 minutes.
They closed out the game. They went on a huge run the moment Maxey went into the game because they needed the small ball spacing. That's what I'm saying. That's a tough guy to replace. Because I thought he played really well tonight.
He got 10 points.
They just closed out so hard on him still.
I know. Gobert, he drove right by Gobert. That one where he drove and dunked it.
It leads to things, it's still one of the most bizarre things.
That's again, it's almost the same as the Dinwiddie thing. I know he's going to take away in certain moments. He doesn't rebound well, right? He's just 6'10", is not super quick, doesn't get off the ground very well, right? But he can stand in front of Anthony Edwards and guard him for a couple seconds and stay in front. Like if a center can do that, he's still useful to your team. So he's useful to the Mavericks at 12 minutes, 10 minutes. You ask him to play more than that, and then you're asking him to do more. Today he only played 15, scored 10 points. Like, all right, this is fine. We'll take that.
I don't know what you do at the center position. I really don't.
I got one. Let's finally embrace the PJ at the 5 moment. Let's do it.
That's what one of my takeaways was. Is this allows you now to really experiment with lineups that could be very impactful in a playoff setting. PJ at the 5. But the thing is
Omax would have to be good.
Omax would have to be good, or you'd have to put Maxey in it, and then Maxey's your 5.
Yeah.
So it's not really PJ at the 5.
They are this is why we talked about potentially getting Dorian. You're missing like 1 6'7", 6'8" guy. If you could just put one, because Clay is not that, Najee's not really that, Omax hasn't been good enough, Grimes is obviously not that. You just need one more guy with like a Luka or a Kyrie like that. I guess Luka's 6'8". Maybe Luka comes back.
I'm trying to like piece together what the 5 would be, like the ideal. Hey, we're going to this in a closing situation.
Yeah, right now it's
have Luka, Kyrie, and PJ, and then what would your other 3 be to make it work?
I mean, Najee and Grimes, but again, that's not enough size, like you said. It's just not.
The small ball is not just put small guys out on the court and we did it. It's we have to strategically place.
Don't tell Rick Carlisle that.
Yeah. How tall are you? 6'5".
Oh,
right, you're out.
Speaking of, guess who was in the building today?
Who?
Call him up for a 10-day. Salah Mejri in the building today.
Oh, that's an option. How old is he now?
I don't know. He was not moving super well, I don't think.
He wasn't moving super well when he was playing.
Oh, stop that. He had that.
Come on. We're all thinking it.
Didn't he have like a 15-15 game one time? I remember he went nuts on the game.
What's Tottenham Singh up to? Is he still in playing shape, you think?
Guys, thanks for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. We'll be here for all the rest of the games. All the rest of the weekdays we'll be here for you. Thanks for hanging out with us. Guys, go check out all the great stuff we have. The QR code or the links in the description. Thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs. Peace out. Boom.
Good news, guys. They play the Thunder tomorrow night.